Welcome to the Farm and Home Show. My name is Colby, and this week I'm kicking off an exciting new series called Backyard Biology, where we'll be talking all about wildlife that you can find just right outside your door. For this first week, we'll be covering insects. And to start off, one of the most cool insects that I've seen in the past month has been cicadas, specifically the periodical cicada. Broods 13 and 19 have emerged out of the ground after 17 and 13 years living in the larval stage, respectively. What's so neat about these insects is after spending so long under the ground, they come up, live for just a few short weeks, just long enough to mate, lay eggs before they die. The sound that you hear commonly on a quiet summer night, the loud humming sound, is actually the males trying to find their mates in their short period of time that they are above ground. If you missed out on a chance to see them, as they are kind of dwindling in numbers at this time of year, be sure to look out for the annual cicada, which comes out every single year later in the summer months. It'll be a green insect compared to the orange and red-eyed insect that you see right now. Or be sure to look out next year in 2025 for brood 14, which will be emerging all across this region. While it may seem like cicadas are an invasion when they appear, they aren't an invasive insect. They are common all across the southeastern United States, and they are very important to the environment when they do decide to emerge out of the ground. But there are a few invasive insects that are very harmful to this area. One of those being the Japanese beetle. Like its namesake, it does come from Japan, and it has been in America for almost a century. They are common green little beetles with copper wings that live on foliage, and they eat the foliage on garden plants and landscape plants both. One rule of thumb that I have with these insects, and all insects really, is if it doesn't bother me, I don't like to bother it. But when it comes to these invasive insects, that rule goes out the window. It's important to stop the spread of these insects any way possible, so if you see a Japanese beetle, make sure to squish it on site. Where there's one Japanese beetle, it may be common to see multiple Japanese beetles, so it may be important to go to a local retail store to buy some insecticide. A common one is 7-Dust. Make sure that when you're applying any insecticide that you're reading the labels and applying it as it is guided, and if you have any questions, make sure to call the Extension office for our help. Another invasive that isn't really an insect but has been getting a lot of headlines in the news is the hammerhead worm. While this worm needs to be killed just as the Japanese beetle, you need to take extreme caution when you are dealing with these animals up close. They do produce a toxin that can cause some skin irritation to humans, so make sure to avoid all personal contact as much as possible. When you're killing the hammerhead worm, it is important not to stomp it like you would another insect, because it can be divided into multiple parts, and each part can become its own individual worm. To kill the hammerhead worm, it is important to salt it like a slug or capture it and freeze it, whichever way works best for you. After talking about these horrible invasive insects, I think it's time to talk about one of the most important and best insects that we have around us: pollinators, specifically bees. There are many different bee species in Kentucky, but a lot of times most people commonly think of the honeybee and the bumblebee as the bee species that they see around. These are the bees that live in colonies, have different roles and different titles, and they're the ones that make your honey. But all bee species are important. Pollination is one of the most important environmental services, and it produces the fruits, vegetables, and flowers that humans depend on. With a lot of outside pressures such as urban expansion and pollution, many bee species are under duress, and it is important that we provide them the best habitat for them to continue their pollination services. Some bees that people may not think of a lot of times are wood bees and mason bees. These bee species are known as solitary bees, and they make up most of the species that we find here in Kentucky. Solitary bee species, like their name suggests, live completely alone, unlike their colonized counterparts. These bee species burrow into wooden decks, which oftentimes gives them a bad rep to homeowners and property owners. There are several solutions, however, to prevent them from burrowing into your property, but also giving them a nice habitat where they can grow and live and reproduce. One of these is an insect hotel, like I have right here. These bee hotels provide habitats that are already drilled out for wood bees and carpenter bees to nest inside of these holes without having to drill out your property to make a nest for themselves. It is important that we provide these pollinators with habitats, but it is also important that we are managing them in a proper way. Be sure to look at online resources if you want to make a DIY one, and we also have some in our Monarch Way station here at the office, or you can purchase a pre-made one like this one. For this specific video, we will be doing a giveaway which features this bee hotel as your prize. To enter to win this specific giveaway, please scan the QR code on your screen, or if you're having any troubles, you can always contact the office to help us out. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to tune in next week where we will be talking about birds. And as always, thank you to our UK entomology department for looking and producing these publications where we get this information. If you have any questions about these publications or need any more information about insects, please don't hesitate to contact our office and we'll be happy to help you. Thank you for tuning in. Can't wait to see you next week.